This fish spent 40 years perfecting one skill, holding on. The remora fastens itself to the shark. It eats the parasites, it eats the scraps, and biologists call it mutualism. The remora calls this living. The shark calls it nothing at all because the shark has never once thought about the remora. Now, this isn't a biology channel. That's just the metaphor I'm trying to set up. It's an arrangement that happened. It's an interesting arrangement. You see, one animal builds its entire life around the ecosystem of another animal, and you would think that they would share some type of connection, or they would help each other or something, but the shark doesn't know it exists. The remora just lives there, and I think it's a curious connection to something I've been kind of bouncing back and forth in my head. Again, this is a metaphor. It's not really about the shark or the fish, but I think this relationship exists outside of the shark and the fish. It exists in our lives, but it looks differently. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's what we're setting up. That's the metaphor we're setting up. Okay, it's a little bit different, and I want to say a little sadder because it's kind of a dangerous real estate that we're navigating. Again, this is something I've been tossing around, kind of thinking about for a hot minute. And it really hit me when I was looking on the internet. I like to look for apps and things like that. I love apps. I've always loved apps. Quick little note about me. And I'm not going to tell you too much about me because I've seen the things you guys believe on the internet. So this should be plenty, right? I've been in the industry for about 10 years. I have published apps on the app stores. I have an app studio. We build apps for local businesses. I also have a day job because my business does not generate any income at the moment. But, you know, we're holding on. But that should be plenty because I've seen the things you guys believe on the internet, so don't try me, okay? This relationship that I'm trying to describe, I had this idea for a while, and it really clicked one day when I was looking at my 41st or 42nd app that claimed to be a disruptor, but was really just an API call to Claude or OpenAI. Do you know what I'm talking about, by the way? It's got the beautiful gradient, the landing page, and the call to action. You scroll up, it's got the on-hover effects, blah, 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 blah. And they claim that something's dead. You know what I'm talking about? And a quick side note, aren't you tired of when people say that something's cooked or an industry's cooked? It's so freaking cringe. Anyway, I'm watching these apps. I'm watching these web apps specifically claim something's dead. I checked the network tab. You can see the calls there because there's no security. It's whatever, blah, blah, blah. I just had this moment. I started looking around at other apps that reminded me of that. And I had so many examples of the same thing. And it's just Claude, it's just Fable 5 or Soul or whatever the freak wearing a little tiny hat. And I like the hat. I like tiny hats. You can put a little bow on them. There's so many different things you can do with the hat. So I'm not saying that. It's just that calling this disruption is like making a man-made lake, filling it with fish, buying a boat, and spending the afternoon talking trash to Mother Nature. It's just not the same thing. It's kind of cringe, dude. You think about all these startups that sell memory for your AI, startups that retrieve documents, startups that manage your prompts or orchestrate your workflows, or they wrap the model in a cleaner user interface for lawyers and doctors and sales teams. It's a whole marketplace of plugins and tools, and they're all feeding the same rented gravity. It's a model that they can never afford to build and an audience that they can never reach alone. And this is real businesses. I'm not saying that this can't be a real business, okay? These are real businesses for sure. But calling it a disruptor, I think it's a bit disingenuous. All right? I think you're writing a check, your token maxing can't freaking cash, my boy. See, you're not a disruptor, really, right? You're a tech bro in Birkenstocks. And wait, no, so am I, okay? It's all love. It's all love here. I'm not narrating from the boat. I'm in the water with you. I'm just feeling existential and I'm just thinking about things. I'll tell you something about myself so that we know that we're in the same thing. We're in the same field. We're in the same vibe. A while ago, I wrote a little semantic memory plugin for Claude. Yeah, I know, you did too. Everyone did. We all had a semantic memory thing that really solved memory forever, and native memories cooked. Okay, everything's changed. Okay, and my thing was cool though. Okay, you can recall it. You know, it's semantic, and it also had like 6 stars on GitHub. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it did have 6 stars. If yours didn't have 6 stars, then maybe yours wasn't that good. I don't know. Mine was working really well, and I had accumulated so many memories. I had them stored in a JSON file and a .config, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you never guess what happened. Claude shipped native memory. When it did, I was like, cool, whatever. I'm going to keep using mine. I don't care. I built this thing. It's got 6 stars on GitHub. Like, I'm kind of crushing it right now, right? I'm really doing my thing. When they shipped native memory, I couldn't use my plugin anymore. Claude Code would not listen to my memory. It would default to the native memory. So I spent an entire afternoon writing hooks and prompts and things like that to stop it from doing that, to stop. Just use my thing. Stop using that one. Use mine. Eventually, I just gave up. I made some loops, man. I did hooks, I did prompts, I did all the things. Halfway through a loop, I just control C and killed it. And I'd never figured it out, but I guess I didn't really have to, because the truth is the native Claude memory was better. It was easier, I should say. And before you get on me, before you say I'm a quitter, let me just say this. Look at something like Serena, which you don't know, Serena is another semantic memory platform that's really good. It's got like 1,006 more stars than mine does. Okay. But if you go to their page, which I'll pull up right now, they also had the same issue. Now they figured it out. They didn't give up like I did, but they still had the same issue. This is a serious project maintained by people who know what they're doing with thousands of stars, and they're negotiating with the same basic force that I was. The platform that we'd integrated into changed what normal means underneath them. So our tool, I shouldn't say their tool. They're still good and it's still great. My tool lost to a setting. Think about that. It lost to a toggle in a setting menu. Keep that in mind. That's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. Let's talk about when I first discovered all this tooling was available around models like Claude and Codex. See, I had the same reaction a lot of builders did when I first found out about Claude and Codex and all that stuff. I was like, wow. I was actually surprised because it was so open. It was so inviting. They had all these protocols and SDKs, software developer kits, and all this room to build. And that excitement was real. It is real. But it also birthed this video. This is where that metaphor with the remora and what we're doing now kind of breaks apart. The shark is indifferent to the remora. The remora can keep living there, feeding off the sharks, whatever. It doesn't care. The shark does not care. So if we're going to say that the OpenAI platforms are the shark, in this case, the difference between the remora and the shark is not indifferent. It's just waiting. It's waiting and it's collecting data. It'll publish open protocols so your tools can connect to the model. It open sources SDKs. And it'll run a marketplace where your product gets discovered and you can promote it on launch. Shouts out everything Claude Code. Shouts out all these cool tools. And look how friendly the giant is. It's really cool. It would never force you to do anything, because if they force you to do something, then regulation gets involved, which no one wants to talk about that. But yeah, that's what happens. So it's going to offer you everything on a silver platter. It's not forcing you. Keep that in mind. It's not forcing you. It's offering you everything on a silver platter. And what it's offering you on that silver platter are two options. Here's option one. Build everything on the official rails, adopt the protocol, join the marketplace, integrate deeply. You get immediate distribution to users you can never afford to acquire on your own. In exchange for that, every install, every session, every happy user is a data point flowing back to the host. You supply the feature, you supply the evidence, you supply the roadmap. Your attraction is the giant's market research. You're running the experiment that proves your feature deserves to exist natively. That's option one. That is what is going to happen if you are successful with your integration in their platform. Their market research team says, that's awesome. Let's pop that bad boy in the app. What are we talking about? And guess what? If you're already paying $200 a month for freaking Claude Max, I can't afford to buy your thing. So that's option one. Option two, or option B, you can stay independent. You can own your users, your data, and your stack. But then you compete if you choose that option. You compete with a version of your product that arrives with zero installation, zero extra signups, one bill, one login, and a permanent home inside an interface your customers already use. Very considerate, super fun. This is happening too. Look at Airtable, who just got bought out. It's not that Airtable sucked or people didn't use Airtable. It's just that what they offered outside of, whatever, is kind of built in the Claude. Now, all that stuff is kind of built in with Claude Cowork. It's there. See what I'm doing? Option one, build an app or an integration that proves the integration needs to exist natively within OpenAI or Codex or Gemini, or do it yourself. And then they still just adopt that same thing because you can't own something in the software world like that. Like, we're past that point. This isn't a new pattern too, by the way. It's been happening for a long time. It's just a little bit different. So I'll give you some examples. I don't know if you ever remember the app called Flux. Apple uses a lot of daemons or things you can attach onto to do certain things within their ecosystem. So Flux hooked onto one of those and gave your monitor a cute little glow at night. I know you're already thinking it, right? Not only did Apple come out with Night Shift, before they did, they restricted access to that part of their native API, their native platform. They restricted that so that Flux can no longer attach onto that. Kind of a bummer, but legally not that big a deal. Now, Flux still exists, obviously. It was just on Linux. So it's not the end of the world for Flux. It's just that an entire slice of the pie was restricted from them, which I'm sure they're upset about, but it's fine. But it gets worse. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing called Watson. Watson was a search utility for Mac, or absorbed so completely by Sherlock and then Spotlight that the only thing, and I didn't even know about this, but now that term is called being Sherlocked. None of this stuff I'm talking about is new, but I'm just giving you examples of things from back in the day where these are mechanisms of displacement. You can look at like tools like LangChain. LangChain help developers wire models to tools, to datas, and multi-step workflow. The model platforms begin absorbing more of that connective tissue through native tool use, function calling, and agent SDKs, absorbing the wiring. And retrieval, same thing with retrieval. Companies raise real money to help models search private documents. Then platforms begin bundling file search and retrieval and managed knowledge stores into their own products. And here comes the premium squeeze. These independent companies, they don't vanish. They get pushed hard towards enterprise problems, specialized compliance, and customers whose needs don't fit inside the native button. The market may be valuable, but it's also further uphill. It's a specialized thing. I'm trying to think of examples of this. Once I built like a redundancy system that's used right now in this really big company that I'm not going to name, but I got the idea. I guess I'm kind of giving an example of how I did this, but open source, okay. But I was going to use a different platform, but the platform is based in Russia, and my bosses were like, you can't do that. So I built it natively. It's kind of like the same thing we're talking here. Now, that's the chill thing. That's really the best case scenario where you offer something native, but there's still the paid version of that, but you got to build the native thing yourself without any. But no one, it's hard to offer that to companies. In this special case, the company was a client of ours, so it didn't really matter. The main point I'm trying to make is the age of the rapper is dead. Rappers are cooked. Rappers are officially cooked. If your product, if your whole product exists to be a chat interface or a persona or a clever system prompt, then I believe, and this has been proven, and I've used memory as an example, but I believe that your app is one setting toggle away from complete freaking extinction. And you can't be mad. So we say Flux is level 5. Flux is, they still exist, but they're just not on Apple anymore. And Apple has night shift. So even if they did exist on Apple, I would just obviously use the native night shift. Sorry, someone's screaming outside my window. City living, baby. I think that if your app exists because you believe that your chat interface or your system prompt or your persona changes the game in some way, truly, dude, you are a setting toggle away from just complete extinction. GG's. And that's the new thing, because obviously, as we just said, Sherlocking has existed this entire time. It's not anything new. The industry has changed so that Sherlocking is not something you can really combat anymore. Like back in the day, older platforms could take years to absorb one independent feature. Now, these AI platforms, they can do that same thing that took years and months. And that's like pushing it. I would say 2 months max. If you build something that's really good, they can ship that same thing in 2 months, wipe you out. Back to the Ramona and shark thing. A shark can't see a full dashboard of everything the Ramona's doing and be like, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna do that myself. But these platforms have a Grafana dashboard or a freaking Jira chart. Everything you're doing, everything you've built, everything you've integrated, and the users that are using it, if they love it, if they can see that the users love that thing that you built, they're going to integrate that natively. Guaranteed. And they're going to do it soon, and it's probably going to be pretty seamless. Another example of this too, there's this app called WhisperFlow. And I started using WhisperFlow because it was one of the first speech-to-text dictation apps that I could use in the terminal, which, by the way, I'm a Claude Code CLI guy. I don't know if you guys are using Claude Code, the GUI. If you're not using Claude Code CLI, will you comment down below? I'm trying to get a list of people I need to send a video on why they should switch the terminal. So if you're not, just let me know. But anyway, WhisperFlow was an app, speech to text into the terminal. Pretty sweet. Everyone used it. And then Claude Code obviously built in the speech to text thing. Now there's one kind of sucks. So that example, I don't know what Claude Code was thinking with their speech to text thing. Is kind of a bummer. But I think they're gonna get it right soon. And when they do, it's GG's on that. You're not a disruptor. You're R&D. It's a good line, right? That's pretty sick. I want to clip that. I'm not really going to hand you a verdict because, as you can probably guess, I obviously use these tools. They are great now. They weren't great before. They are good now. It is what it is. I don't think there's anything we can do about that. Our jobs, if you're in the industry right now, if you're a software engineer right now, you know that No boss of yours is trying to hear that you don't use these tools. They're not trying to hear it. They do not care. They want you to use the tools. They want you to work faster. There's more on your plate than there's ever been before. And then that plate will never not be full. The day it is not full, you have been let go. I'm not dumb enough to think that I'm not on the chopping block at any second. I guess the point I'm trying to raise, what this whole thing's about, is what's the point of building apps anymore? You're probably going to say something like, I just build apps for fun. Cool. I'm not talking about you. Go do that. Some of us do two things because this is America and we want to take the thing we love and make it our lives and make money from it. There is no money in software development anymore. The software development is owned by OpenAI and by Claude. I want to say Gemini, but let's keep it a buck. As we know, as we find out that if we are successful, there will be an AI version of that success story. If you build an app, why would I buy your app when I can just have Claude do that app for me? What does the ecosystem of app development look like in 5 years? And we're not talking about your to-do app. We're not talking about a task app. We're talking about like actual enterprise grade applications. What does that look like now? Like, and I'm looking at you, Salesforce. Okay, you guys think you're cute, but you're a ticking time bomb too. Back in the day, that would be crazy to think about. No one's gonna build their own Salesforce. No company has the time for that. Like, what does this look like in 5 years, bro? This is not sustainable, but there's also nothing we can do. Like, I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think. This is my first video. I kind of messed up a bunch. This is my 4th time recording it. I think I'm just going to call it. I'm Fontez. That's GG's. Bye.